Welcome back to my channel. It's Danny here from Our Humble Home DIY. Today I'm continuing my bedroom furniture makeovers, and these are old bedside tables I bought a while ago. I actually did buy them to flip and sell. I was so disappointed in them that I was almost going to throw them out or resell them straight away because they were so cheap. I didn't realize they were laminate in the picture. It looked like raw wood to me, but I got them home. They were laminate, they were chipboard. The sliders, the rails the drawers slide on are really flimsy, are really bad. The knobs were falling off, which, I mean, that's easy enough to fix, but in the end I thought I'm just going to keep them and use them in the meantime. And I am actually making these over for the bedroom makeover that I'm doing. And if you saw last week's video, I made over the beautiful queen size bed, so go check that one out. So what I'm going to do is measure the front of the drawers, and I'm actually going to put on some 3D wallpaper, some textured wallpaper. And if you did watch the bed makeover last week, you'll see that I used it on the bed too. I had just enough for the front of these drawers, so I thought I may as well use it up. And also this will give me a little sort of matching set. The bedside tables will go with the actual bed that I did. So I just measured the front and I cut out the panels. So cleaning's really important, of course. I went over it and cleaned. You know, this is laminate. They were cheap bedsides, but funnily enough, the laminate wasn't in too bad a condition, apart from the fact that whoever had it had drilled holes in the sides and the tops, and there was a little bit of water damage on the top as well, which I didn't worry about too much. It wasn't that bad, and I was keeping them for myself. But to apply the actual textured wallpaper, I use PVA glue and just make sure I put it on liberally and make sure I spread it to each of the corners and right up to the sides so the paper sticks down really well. When I say I had zero expectation for these bedsides, I mean I had negative expectations for these bedsides. I thought if I can just do something with them, if I can paint them white to make them go with the bed, I thought that would be fine by me. I let them dry overnight, the paper, and this is important because what we're going to be doing here is sanding back the sides. You can see there it's just overlapping a little bit from the side. We can't have that because if we painted it like that and someone grabs the side of the drawer, they could rip the paper. Sanding it back is really easy with this paper. It's really satisfying as well. It takes off the excess and it looks like the paper is actually part of the drawer. It works really well that way. Even if you have a small piece that's overlapping, or even if you have a larger piece that's overlapping, it works fine, just so long, as I said before, that you put the glue right to the side and it's stuck down securely and tightly so that when you are sanding it back, it is all stuck down and stays in place. Just sanding back where I filled the holes in the top and sides of these drawers. Like I said before, this did have a little bit of water damage on one of the drawer tops. I didn't worry too much about that. What I would normally do though, if I was selling something like this, is I'd sand it right back flat and fill up any holes or divots with wood filler and then sand it again. But see, the holes filled up really well, and once it's painted you'll never know that there was a problem there. Textured wallpaper is a great way to cover up a laminated piece of furniture that you think is a bit too damaged. something that you don't want to fix, or you think that it mightn't come up well if you start sanding and filling it in. The textured wallpaper will hide a multitude of sins. It will cover a lot of divots and damage and that sort of thing. And you can not only cover the drawers with the textured wallpaper, but you could do the sides as well, which I have done before on pieces, and they look really nice. So if you have a piece of laminate furniture that you don't particularly want to paint or fix up, that is quite damaged, or even if it's not, even if you just want to decorate it, this textured wallpaper is a great idea. And you can buy so many different designs. I get mine from Wallpaper Direct. I think for this particular roll I paid $66, and that will do so many pieces of furniture. So I'll put a link to Wallpaper Direct website below. So the first step is to prime, which is ultra important if you are painting a laminate piece. Now this is Dulux Maximum Adhesion Primer. So this is a primer specifically for hard to stick surfaces. For example, if you have something ultra shiny, glossy, it actually works on glass and glossy tiles as well. And I have used just normal primer. I've used Zinza 3-in-1 primer on laminate as well, and it works fine too. But this adhesion primer is amazing, and next week I'll be doing a makeover, and I use it on some handles, some steel metal handles, and I was so impressed with it that I'll be using it for other things, that's for sure. But the primer is important. Not that this particular piece will bleed because it's laminate, but we do need it for the paint to stick onto the surface of the wood, and so that it doesn't chip or break away easily. I did 2 coats of primer, and I did 3 coats of paint. The paint I used was a Taubman's. It's just a house paint. If you see my other videos, you know I'm still going with this big bucket of paint. Painted the cabin, I've painted rooms, I've painted beds, I'm painting furniture, and I'm still going with it. I've still got more left. I did 2 coats on the drawers. I ended up doing 3 on the body of the piece, because when you are covering a piece that is a bit darker with white paint, you find that you just need to get that extra coverage. Now this is one of my favorite parts. It's a bit more artistic and it's the stencils, and these stencils I made myself, and I do have a video dedicated to that, a 7mm Mylar video. I'll just pop it up in the corner, then you can click on that. I decided to go with this particular one. I thought it was just a bit more flowy and went really well with the actual textured wallpaper. It sort of matched it a little bit. I keep these trays that you get chicken and meat in. Instead of throwing them out, I just wash them, and I find they're really good to use with rollers for if you're doing stencils and that sort of thing, and they're easily washable too. I use a roller for my stencils. I don't dab. One tip though is if you are rolling your furniture with a roller, use that roller that is fully loaded and full of paint for your stencils, because it will be a lot more even. The paint will come through a lot more evenly. I don't mean to make it actually soggy, because then it can run, just so that it's sort of a dry roller, but it will be full of paint. It will have a lot of paint in it. And what I do is just get rid of some of the paint from the roller. I do like a dry roller when I do my stencils. Unfortunately, because the sides of these drawers were chipboard that is very rough and absorbent, it didn't quite take when I used this particular technique. I should have actually put more paint on the roller. So you can see there are pieces missing. It's not crisp. The actual design didn't look crisp. And yeah, there were some pieces missing. I actually did it again. I thought I'll put a little bit more paint on, but the same sort of thing happened. Actually, I don't know how, but it actually missed a whole piece there. So I'm thinking, what will I do? I gave it a little bit of thought for a little bit. I did let them dry. The only thing I could do with these, I couldn't leave them as they were. I just let the actual paint dry and I replaced the stencil carefully. This time I loaded the roller with more paint and made sure it was more thoroughly covered. So that was a lot better. I just didn't make the same mistake on the drawers that I hadn't stenciled yet, so I made sure I had plenty of paint on the roller. I stick mine down, but I have in the past used spray adhesive to stick the stencils down too. So if you're unsure that maybe your stencil might bleed or move, you can always use spray adhesive to stick them down. So I'm going to actually be making some dowel and jute handles, and this is what I will need for that. I will need some dowel cuts that you can buy. I bought them from Choices for $2 a packet, string, scissors, screws, a hot glue gun and some extra glue. Also I did need a drill to actually drill some little holes in the dowel as well. I have made these before and I've done a video on it and I absolutely love them. And you know, if you are making pieces up to sell, not only are they cheap and easy to do, fun to do, but they actually make the piece sell really well. They're very popular with people. I've found that the pieces that I've sold with these handles on sell quite quickly. But like I said before, these are for me, these drawers, and I really wanted these particular handles. So I measure halfway in between each dowel piece and I just drill, not so much a hole, just a little bit of an indent in there just so the screw will actually slide in and will stay there when we're screwing it into the drawer. And then I measure the same measurement from each side so I know exactly where to start and finish placing my string. I grab the hot glue gun and I just pop a little bit where I'm starting to wind the string around, and I wind it around to the other side and then place the glue on the other side as well and push it down. It's important to start and stop where the actual little hole is, so you want the string to be glued down at the back where the hole is so that when it's actually screwed onto your drawer, the glued part and the part where the string ends is actually facing against the drawer and it sort of will hold it into place, if that makes sense. These were pre-drilled holes and I just wallpapered over the top. I just used a kebab skewer and pushed it through the wallpaper there. What I do when I put them on is I push the screw through and then I line up the little hole that I drilled and push the handle in. These handles, when I started screwing in from the back though, would only go to up to a certain point for some reason. I'm not sure why. What I did was I just held the screw in place at the back, and from the front I actually twisted the handle so that it twisted up nice and tight. It wasn't going to go anywhere. So the last step to finish off and to protect the piece is I use my Glitz beeswax. This is really great, and as you saw there, it sort of looked yellow, and when I first used it I was panicking. I thought, oh no, it's gonna turn out yellow, but it doesn't. It goes in really well. What you do though is you put it on with just a damp rag and wipe it all over. I let mine dry for about 30 minutes and then I go over and I polish it off. It gives a really lovely matte sheen and just finishes the piece off. Thank you so much for watching this video today. If you haven't checked out my bedroom makeover video from last week, that was the bed. Please go and check it out. I love these drawers. I absolutely love them, and to think I was going to throw them out, I'm glad I didn't. Okay guys, well I'll see you next week. Have a great week and bye for now. Or covered in plastic, just keep the plastic, and they make good drop sheets. But I also put like old sheets on top of it, so it was a bit easier and not as noisy to walk on as well, and that would maybe absorb paint if I did drop any paint. But I'm just applying this adhesive primer